Here we are, living the dream, sailing around the world on our wonderful catamaran. I wish. We still have a lot to go before we can get to that.
First, we have to build our 50-foot hybrid performance cruising catamaran. But even getting to the point where we can start construction of our dream boat required us to go down a long and arduous path.
Yes, and that path was fraught with all kinds of dead ends and pitfalls and false ends and twists and turns. It was a real maze to navigate to buy a boat. I'm Captain Blood, but you can call me Phil. And this is my wife, who we call the Admiral.
My name is Mary Ann, and joining us will be our longtime friend and partner in sports and adventure, RXO, Brian Tassi.
And we will also have some other crew on board, and we have another video that you can watch and learn about that, the introduction video. But continuing on, we also will have some of you along this virtual crew. So we're looking forward to that as we share these videos with you. But right now, we want to take you down the convoluted path we took to find our boat. To understand that journey, we need to go back in time to the point where we entered the maze. So let's take a look. With our plan to see the world by boat, at first, we wanted to purchase a motor yacht. After all, a straight path between 2 points is the shortest route, and while motoring, you may head straight for your destination. At that point, our path to obtaining a boat looked simple, like a straight path to a goal. So, with our goal clearly in front of us, we stepped into the maze with no idea that there would be many turns and twists to come. Of course, we did our research on the net, and even traveled to some marinas to take a look at a few used motor yachts. After some education on the various models, we finally settled on purchasing a Flemming 55. This is an incredibly well-built, expedition-style motor yacht capable of crossing oceans with a 2,500-mile range on diesel fuel.
But crossing oceans by running 2 diesel engines uses a lot of fuel. So I thought we better get all the stats on fuel consumption.
After lots of research, we learned that at a cruising speed of 10 knots, Flemming 55 owners reported that their boats burned about 10 gallons of diesel per hour. That's a gallon per nautical mile. Los Angeles to Hawaii is 2,470 miles, which is about 2,146 nautical miles. That means we would burn 2,146 gallons of diesel on that single crossing. Even way back when we were considering this option, marine diesel was $3 per gallon. That meant the cost of fuel was $6,438 to cross that one ocean. Nowadays, with the price of fuel being more, it would cost closer to $12,000. Yikes!
And the heavy cost in fuel is what blocked that path to our goal.
With motor yachts no longer an option, we had to choose a new door, and that led to a new plan. We still didn't know we were in the maze, but it was sucking us deeper and deeper into the darkness. On the one hand, we could give up our dream and do something else with our future. But there was another choice, one that did not use as much fuel. That option was a sailboat. After all, wind is somewhat free. It's not completely free, mind you. Sails and rigging wear out, so each mile you sail has some amortized cost. But it's still a lot less expensive than burning fossil fuels. We figured that sailing would save us, excuse the pun, a boatload of fuel. Almost immediately, we ran into a big fork in the path. As soon as we started really looking at new and used world cruising sailboats, we discovered that catamarans were getting popular for cruising oceans while living aboard. So even though I had been a monohull guy, I started contemplating which type of sailboat might work out best. To help us decide, we created a list of pros about each type of boat and started discussing how important each of those was to us, and to make the comparison easier to calculate, our spreadsheet took our opinions into account for each of the great features of owning a cat or mono. In fact, we already made a video all about this, which you may watch. We even give you our spreadsheet to play with.
But back to our current choice, this spreadsheet helped us decide on the path we would take at this fork. We decided on the catamaran route.
With a new path before us, we continued into the maze. At this point, we were looking for a new catamaran. Very quickly, we discovered that there was a whole array of choices in new cats. Our simple path had multiple doors. The center door led to buying a Lagoon. The Lagoon door was in the center because that's the choice in cats that most people take. Lagoon is the largest seller of catamarans in the world. But there were other options. On either side of the Lagoon door, we found Fontaine Pajot and Leopard. Yet there were even more doors to our left that led to the builders like Catana, Privilege, Seawind, Voyage, and Nautitech. Then to our right were Antares, St. Francis Marine, Outremere, and smaller builders. To figure out which cat manufacturer was best for us, we had to enter each door to do our research into their brand of boats to see if they might make the cat that would best help us achieve our dream. At that time, we decided that we liked a new boat from African Cats, their 605. It was a big, fast catamaran with some new and innovative features like rotating curved daggerboard wings. Unfortunately, the price for one of these cats turned out to be incredibly high, over $3 million. But back then, I wasn't too worried about the cost of purchasing a boat. I had been the lead designer at 2 game companies, and having recently left the second company, Prolific Publishing, I started my own game company, MMO Magic, which I hoped would do quite well. Unfortunately, instead of making me a lot of money, that venture ended up costing me a heap of cash, and that dropped a major roadblock in our dreams of sailing a new performance catamaran. Now, I had to rethink my path. I was not ready to give up on sailing around the world, so I reevaluated what kind of boat I could afford to buy and still achieve my dream. With my path to an expensive performance cat blocked, I started looking at less expensive cats, like the aforementioned Lagoon and Fontaine Pajot production cats. But even new comfort-style catamarans were now beyond my budget.
So, at a new fork in our path, we made the decision to take the turn that headed for a used catamaran.
The path led us deeper into the maze. We started looking at used cats on Yacht World, and soon discovered a half-finished performance catamaran available for purchase at a local catamaran yard in Costa Mesa, California, called Gill's Catamarans. That location was only 40 minutes from my house. Back then, Gill's Catamarans had built the shell of a Kurt Hughes 58-foot performance catamaran, which was up for sale. Unfortunately, if I went with this boat, by the time I got this half-finished cat ready to sail around the planet, I would be into the boat for $500,000. Back then, after having taken heavy losses with my game company fiasco, I did not have that kind of liquid cash available. So, sadly, when another buyer got interested, I had to let them take the boat. With that path now closed off, we retraced our steps and took a new path deeper into the maze. We kept watching for cats for sale and learning everything we could about these big sailboats. Having previously considered that Kurt Hughes boat, we looked into building one of his designs from scratch. Unfortunately, after some research, we quickly discovered that this was not the path for us. Building a large DIY catamaran from complete scratch seemed like too much work for us to take on. So that ended the DIY catamaran path. But there was an alternate route, one that led to another method of making our own catamaran, a pre-cut kit. I looked into sellers of kits and discovered Schionning Designs. They offered several different catamaran kits. Kit Catamarans are CNC pre-cut, so all you have to do is assemble the pieces and then add all the systems. That process would save us a whole bunch of time in construction, plus we wouldn't have to know quite as much since building one is like using a giant erector set, where you just glue the pre-cut pieces together with epoxy and glass. This way, we would also get a professional design, with all the engineering of a company that was famous for designing seaworthy kit boats. Reinvigorated, we marched down a new path in the maze. Using this building method made building our own cat seem more achievable. We would work with a proven designed kit that was not outrageously expensive, and, best yet, we could do all or most of the labor and save a lot of cash. It seemed like we'd found a clear path to our goal at last.
Thank you for watching part 1 of our video of how we decided to purchase a Kit Catamaran.
But there are some big things in store and some changes in the maze because there's a couple of monsters running around in there, which you'll see in part 2. So thanks again for watching, and come back next week and see the rest.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell icon.
Thanks again. Bye.